How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Blade Runner Black Lotus, the animated series from Adult Swim and Crunchyroll. This is Season 1, Episode 8, and this one's entitled The Davis Report. This is the first one back after a 2-week break for Christmas and New Year's. This one came out January 1st, 2022, so that's pretty cool. This is the first 2022 thing I've reviewed, and here's looking out for many more. I really am excited for the new year in movies and TV. We have, obviously, the new Scream movie is coming out, and a few other things, and I'm really hoping to find some cool 2022 stuff. But anyway, this is once again directed by series creators Kenji Kamiyama and Shinji Aramaki. And this time around, since this is an Officer Davis Bubble episode, we star Samira Wiley. Now, I saw the title, The Davis Report, and because of the preview, I knew that this was going to be an Officer Davis Bubble episode. And I went into this kind of excited. Officer Davis is one of my favorite characters from the series. You know, a really cool detective that has a way of piecing things together a lot quicker than you think she would. And she's pretty cool, you know. I really do like her, and I was glad that we were getting an episode focusing on her. However, it didn't quite pan out. Rather than a cool Officer Davis episode, this is a clip show recap episode. This is, for 2/3 of it, pretty much just recycled footage. This is like, it's like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, where the first chunk of it is just a previously on. It's Officer Davis in a room with someone above her, and she's telling her story, and we're seeing the events of the first half of this series. It's kind of unnecessary. We do get original stuff at the end, like the last third is original, and if you want to fast forward through the recap, you're not missing much. I don't really know why they did this. Now, clip shows, recap episodes, and previously on footage, like, I still appreciate a little previously on before we get into a TV episode, but the whole clip show recap idea really just feels outdated. You know, in the days before home media and in the days before the internet, clip shows and recaps were important. You know, like, remember every now and then Seinfeld would do a clip show, and that was before you could just type in, you know, Seinfeld funny moments into YouTube and it would just pull those up. Like, we were gone for 2 weeks, but I don't think we need, you know, 2/3 of the episode to be a recap just because we were gone for 2 weeks. And I can't help but also think a lot of people are going to just binge watch this whole series once it comes out. And if they binge watch the series, then this is even more pointless because they'll have just seen all this footage literally, you know, 10 seconds ago. So it's not super necessary in this day and age to do this, and I don't know why. I kind of think maybe it's budget. You know, maybe they said, hey, you only get the deal if you do 13 episodes, but they didn't really have the budget for 13, and they're like, we'll do a midpoint recap episode. Maybe that's what this is. I don't know. It's just, you know, I wanted to see, you know, a whole cool episode with Officer Davis, and instead I got about 1/3 of that, you know, so whatever. Let's go ahead and talk a bit about the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, which, seeing as how most of this is a recap, that doesn't apply as much. I'll avoid the twist at the end. How about that? But I do want to say my piece on a few of the plot points and make sure you have a basic understanding as to what this episode's about. We open up with Officer Davis and a man getting out of their spinner and walking towards the camera, a classic "but how did we get here" element. And we jump back to Officer Davis in an interrogation with someone who's her higher up. Now, I don't think we've seen this character before. He was probably created for the episode, And the series in general does have a little bit of a problem with the characters looking a little bit plasticky. But this guy, he looks a little more plasticky and smooth than your average character. Probably because he was created for the bottle episode, but whatever. They're doing an interrogation, and the guy says to her, "You're at the center of all this, and bodies are piling up around you. We need you to explain yourself." Which I thought was kind of dumb, because, oh, you're at the center of all this? Yeah, that's because she's a cop, and doing her job, she put herself there. I mean, it shouldn't be surprised that the cop's at the center of an investigation, because that's where you go to get your job done. And bodies are piling up around you? Yeah, because someone's killing people. That's what I'm there to work on, is to try to figure out who and stop it. So the idea that you would be a suspect because you are there, even though you're a cop, it's just kind of dumb. But anyway, they're interrogating her, and she says, "You guys already know all this. I sent you a file. I held nothing back. I told you everything." And they say, "Yeah, but tell us again." Whatever. So she goes through her story, and this is all Officer Davis's point of view. So it does help get things a little organized, following her train of thought, and it does focus on her character, which, okay, that's nice to have things organized. Was it really necessary? No, it is still a clip show, but for what it is, it does help organize things. And you do get talking between the two of them to help narrate and explain what she was thinking, it's obvious enough what she's thinking, but okay, some narration, whatever. So you do get a little bit of new stuff, but it's not super much. The most interesting thing is, you know how there is that scene where the chief goes, "Ah, I bet you wish you were a Blade Runner." Well, in this narration, she's talking to the guy, and the guy does bring up that she actually did try out to be a Blade Runner. So it wasn't just a throwaway line. She did want to be a Blade Runner, but it turns out that the first day Blade Runner entrance exams have something crazy. I think it's a 99.4% failure rate. So they literally only take 0.6% of their applicants. Granted, I guess you don't need too many Blade Runners, but that still is a very high cutoff rate. So we find out she did try, but she didn't make it in. And, you know, really sad for her, but, you know, boy, that is a high cutoff rate. So, whatever. We do get to actually see that she did try, and that's a cool bit of character backstory. And I wish there was more of that. I wish there was more little insights and, you know, more little tidbits about her past. There is that, so that's interesting. But we get to see the story through her perspective, how she followed one lead to the next, and it's pretty much just things she saw. She does flashback to when she fought that gang, and when she fights the gang, she goes, "Yeah, I was here, and I had heard about how Ellie," well, she doesn't know Ellie, I had heard about how Black Lotus also fought this gang, which triggers a flashback within a flashback, which is really just an excuse to play the clip of Ellie fighting the gang again because there's a cool fight sequence. So that's the one where she wasn't there, but for the most part, they stick within her perspective. They just had to squeeze that fight sequence in again, you know? So I guess I can see that, but anyway, whatever. Anyway, we go through the clips, and we eventually get back to the present, and she explains something. She goes, the reporter that went missing, no one knows who he is, but I've tracked him down, and I found that he had plans to travel to the Nevada desert. And the other guy goes, "The Nevada desert, that place is off limits." So a few interesting things here. The Nevada desert, obviously think Las Vegas, and I believe Las Vegas played quite an important role in the 2049 movie, so maybe that will connect. But anyway, also the fact that the deserts are off limits, they never explain why, but I wonder if it's a radiation thing. maybe in the book, but not the movie, there was a nuclear war, World War Terminus, and I'm wondering if this might lead to an eventual confirmation that there was World War Terminus in the movie universe? I don't know, maybe I'm overanalyzing it. Long story short, no one's supposed to be in the Nevada desert. Officer Davis found out that's where he was going, and also found out that the very day the missing reporter went to the Nevada desert was also the day that the chief and his wife went on vacation. So you have 3 of these dead people all going to the same place on the same day, and she says, I bet if we research, we can find out that the other dead people also went there as well. So that's something worth looking into, and her boss goes, yeah, I'm really surprised. That seems to be a definite lead. And her boss and her go to the desert, which is where we saw them earlier in the beginning. But what will they find there? Will there be evidence of the doll hunt, or will there not be? And can she really trust her boss? You know, how high does the conspiracy go? So we eventually do get to the desert, and that's the new stuff. If you want to fast forward through all the recap, just go to the place where you see them in the desert again. Maybe back up a minute or so to get the conversation leading up here. But yeah, it's about 2/3 of this is just recap. And then the desert does lead to some cool revelations, a cool twist. There's a fair bit to like in the desert section, but it's just the last third of the episode. And it is important stuff for Davis's character. You really see her take a crack into the case, you know. I was surprised she's already starting to find out about the incident in Nevada. She really does make headway through the cases at a really fast, surprisingly fast rate, which is one of the reasons I really like her as a character, is that you wouldn't have think she got this far, and then she did, you know. So the last third is actually really cool, but I'm kind of wondering how many people will just skip this whole episode when they see it's a recap. And if you guys don't want the recap, still watch the last third of this, okay? Because there is new stuff at the end, and it is pretty interesting. All you really need to know is she told her story to the other guy, and they decided to go to the desert. That's all you need to know from the first 2/3. Then you can skip to the end. Overall, like I said, a recap really wasn't necessary. I still remember what's going on. It had only been 2 weeks, and even then I could have looked up the plot so far. You know, you don't really need to spend 2/3 of an episode on this. I did like the new stuff, but other than that, it seemed unnecessary. So, yeah, the clip show, I could have lived without it. The Officer Davis stuff, I liked seeing her. She's a cool character. I wish she got a full episode. But I'm guessing this is just budgetary reasons. I guess they just needed to save a little money to keep the show going. And if they take the budget they saved here and apply it to making the end better, then I guess I can see that. Up next is episode 9. And with episode 9, that's into the last 5 episodes. We only have 5 more after this. We're getting pretty close to the end. So I am curious to see, you know, the second half looks like a bigger conspiracy half, and I'm really going to want to see, you know, what does Ellie do to try to take down the whole conspiracy. That's a pretty big job, and, you know, she's got 5 episodes to do it, so there might be something fun there. Overall, kind of a throwaway episode, kind of like, you know, like when they did the doll hunt and they flashed back to what you'd already seen on the videotape. At least that was expanded. Here, 2/3 we'd already seen, but whatever. Anyway, still looking forward to the rest of the show, but this episode was just kind of unnecessary for the most part. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom if you guys want to see more. You can click there and see more. This should be my Blade Runner playlist. You can see my reviews for all of the past episodes there, as well as some of the comics, the first movie, Soldier with Kurt Russell. There's a fair bit of stuff in there, so if you want to see more, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Blade Runner playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.